world is falling apart around us, and yet there is still more board game news. That's why we're going to give you our roundup for the week of November 12th, 2018.
Disaster has befallen those at Essen, as we have learned that Artipia Games, as well as some other small companies, were the victims of theft. Apparently, there were 3 culprits, 2 of them who distracted the cashier with questions, and being good store owners, in a convention, they tried to help and answer questions and stuff, while a 3rd person got away with the money. Apparently, they're not the only people to get robbed there, and only 1 of the 3 were apparently caught and has not led to the money being returned. To try to recoup some losses, Artipia Games is actually running a Kickstarter where they're having promos specifically all around stealing and stopping robberies, where you can help donate to try to help recoup some of the losses. This happened later in the convention. You can understand that's a lot of money. It's the biggest, if not tied for biggest, convention in board games, and to lose that much income then is because that's what a lot of people might be like, this is when I buy your games and stuff. It's a big hit. And the fact it happened to a lot is pretty sad. I know also Japanime Games was one too, so they have they're not doing Kickstarter, but they have their own little, I think, own site fundraising thing. We'll have links to both down below.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just terrible.
It's not good. And there was also a theft last year at Essen.
A few years, I think. I don't know.
Maybe it was not last year, but in the recent past. And then this is also coming off the heels of the Gen Con incident with the fight with that YouTuber about Magic the Gathering that was outside the premises, but still, it is kind of a disappointing trend to see at board game conventions, which at least I typically think of as very welcoming, very inviting, friendly places where people should be able to feel safe, which unfortunately it seems like that in the entire world, that's no longer something you can do anywhere. I mean, it's really sad, but I'm happy that they had this Kickstarter because fortunately there's enough good people in the community that they can come back and support them and try to make up for that loss. But man, it really is just such a drag that this kind of thing happens.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to a convention, I know not running a store, we're stressed stuff and asset is, and that's when I go to a convention, not as Roll for Great, just as myself. So this kind of stuff, I can just imagine just being so defeating happening.
Yeah, you put they plan for Essen year round.
We should mention that most of the companies, as far as all the ones I've heard that have been hit, aren't like your Asmodee. The ones that just sold for multi-billion dollars.
Right.
These are your smaller guys.
Yeah, for people who Essen could be a make or break thing for them. So much of their publicity and their sales really come from that one event. It's like E3 for video games. It's like Comic-Con if you're a Star Wars movie. It's the big thing that is where you really show off your games. And
well, I mean, that's not just show off their games. I mean, how many people do we know that like this is when I'm going to go on my spree of buying all these games, because not only the new stuff's out, but maybe this is when I finally finish that expansion. I mean, I know I've definitely been guilty of doing some maybe
impulse
buys and just to fulfill stuff at conventions because it's there.
Yeah, so I mean, our hearts go out. Hopefully, by this time that you're watching this, the Kickstarter, maybe it has 1 or 2 days left, but it's probably going to be over pretty soon. So unfortunately, we can't tell you to go back it, but
if you did, bless you.
Yeah, if we did, bless you, and our hearts go out to the people who are involved in this, and hopefully, people don't steal. Why are you doing this?
If you're going to emulate a board game character, don't be the Catan thief.
Fantasy Flight's unique card game Keyforge is just a couple of weeks away from a wide release, but had a pre-release just recently. Some early decks are out there in the wild in the hands of customers, and there was a bit of a mishap among them. If you don't know, every deck of Keyforge is unique not just in its cards, but it also has a uniquely generated name. So no one has the exact same name, but they're generated by an algorithm. There's not a person somewhere in a laboratory writing down every single name. there's a computer program that generates them from a list of predetermined words and grammar and fits them together to make some kind of sense. Well, some of those names have come out, and it turns out they are not exactly maybe family friendly. There are a bunch that are floating around out there, only a few I've seen that are confirmed, but one of them, for example, is Titan Flayer, Farmer of Racism. Clearly, that's not something that they want to have their decks or card game associated with, is the word racism. They've actually put out a system to deal with this so that if you buy one of their decks, the game comes with an app. There's an app for free you can download, and you can input the code and the name of the deck, and it will tell you if that's one of their flagged decks. It will not be tournament legal, and you won't be able to officially use that or talk about it. So they're basically doing kind of a soft recall on all these.
You can send it back though, can't you?
I think they may send you a replacement or something like that, give you a refund. But it is a strange thing. It is an odd thing that you would think that in doing this they would have removed words like racism from the pool.
Yeah, when I first read this, the thing I read was from them, so they didn't want to even say what the bad ones were.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
I thought it was going to be something like, the word in and of itself is not something you think is inconspicuous, but, combined in a weird way is like a sexual innuendo or something. Mm-hmm. But, the racism, I feel like that's one of those words that should have been black. That word alone should be blacklisted, you think.
Yeah, we'll move on from the potential connotation of saying blacklisted, too, in that context. But
I am very curious what other words, not even phrases, just words got through.
Yeah, I mean, this makes me I almost actually want to buy more decks now. Maybe this is viral marketing, because I would love to get one of these contraband decks. I think it's hilarious. It's baffling, and I think they're handling it. I actually think the app thing is a really interesting aspect of it as well, because that's something that before this, most games, if something like this happened, they just have to tell you, please don't use this. The fact that they now can actually scan your deck and you can find out, oh, I'm not allowed to use this, is a neat and interesting way of them using that technology.
I hope I was right about the returns, because then they are handling it very well, because it's sort of, I guess it would stink. I mean, we're probably not going to go into tournaments with our decks, when we get them. But it'd stink, if you get a deck, especially if you liked it too, and then you flip it over the side and it just says, the really sad, depressed Titan. I don't know. That probably is going to be allowed, but I was just trying to think of one that I could say.
Yeah, we'll say some more in our special after show episode.
No, we won't.
It's hidden somewhere. Anyway, Keyforge comes out very soon to the public, so go out there and see if you get one of those decks.
Last week, we talked about Jonathan Gilmour sort of officially teaming up with Pandasaurus Games, but he did have some other games in the pipeline with some other companies. And we're actually going to talk about one now. They just announced from IDW Games Wayward Signature Edition. This is actually based on the comic called Wayward, where sort of a teenager gets mystical powers, moves to Tokyo, and apparently the yokai are not cool with that. This game will be a cooperative game where you'll take on different characters in different scenarios. And as we mentioned in our last week before, Jonathan Gilmour has a fantastic track record with games. Neither of us really know this property. Though, I mean, it doesn't sound anything far off from what we would like.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. It sounds like it has a 30-issue run, so you could actually read the whole thing start to finish.
I am more of a fan of things nowadays that actually have an end.
Yeah, which is neat. It is another licensed game, which IDW does a lot, and it's comic-based, so it seems like right up their alley. But John Gilmour, pretty great designer, so that's a pretty cool one to get. I feel like we're getting extra deja vu from this story, because also, wasn't it the miniatures were designed by the Ninja Division, which was another, last week we talked about the Ghostbusters Men in Black game, which had the same designer of miniatures. So this is like a combining of two old stories.
It definitely is, I think. I mean, Jonathan Gilmour, they're definitely probably going to try to announce all their stuff now that he's with Pandasaurus, and maybe the Ninja Division is just like, this is where we're starting to see that they've started making more deals going out of house with their miniatures, not just simply their games.
Yeah, I guess.
I think I own one game by them with
IDW?
miniatures. No,
Ninja
Ninja Division. And I mean, they're cute and chibi. So I think they're fine. I don't know how other people feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Because I also don't know if that. I think this game doesn't have cute mini ones.
Yeah, because the art style that I've seen of the board in the comic doesn't seem like it would really apply itself to that.
This, according to the article that where we're taking this from, it is going to be on Kickstarter for, and I love the way they say this because in essence that's what this is now, for pre-order for $70. It's not to back, it's for pre-order.
And I think that's February next year.
Yeah, about February, but of course this is board games. You know, we don't like dates.
Well, they'll put up the Kickstarter when it actually comes out. That's what will change.
But yeah, let us know if you know what Wayward is and if you think this is a good or bad idea for the property as a board game. Is obviously wasn't a copyright project we know, but we did do a list of ones we liked. So I'm definitely curious if people who actually know this be like, yes, this is how I pictured this as a game.
This deal has been in the works for a little while now, but it's finally been made official. Asmodee, the giant board game conglomerate, has been sold off from its parent company, Eurazeo, to its new parent company, Pi Partners. That's P-A-I Partners, another European company that likes to buy up giant companies and sell them and increase their value, just like happened to them with this one. So this is something we did talk about maybe a month or two ago, that it seemed like they were going through with it. Just now it has finally happened. Asmodee is under the ownership of a brand new company. For those of you not playing along at home, what this means for the layman, for the average consumer, is in the short term, probably nothing. In the long term, there's definitely going to be some changes. There could be shakeups in the company in terms of management, leadership, but we really don't know and probably won't know how far those changes go. We may not know the full effect of them for a few years from now, honestly.
Yeah,
but it's a thing.
In short term, you said it's right. I don't think we'll see much. It's the long term we really need to be worried about. Like, I've actually heard some more discussion about this, and it's worrisome because it turns out like this is not unique with Asmodee, but it seems like just the way these business things work is it's more of a time bomb. It's the idea, I forget what someone said, it's that there's a bigger loser than you are. That, you'll buy it for this price and sell it for this price. And then if that goes on, because apparently it's not okay for something to be just new, like profitable in the sense of like it's staying standard. It has to constantly grow, which, as we know, there's got to be a top. It's not an indefinite thing. So if this goes on long enough, and then there's that high price, no one's willing to buy Asmodee anymore, then its value drops. It could drop significantly, and that's when we can really be worried. Especially if you're part of something or a fan of like me of like an LCG, like the Arkham Horror that keeps running, and then all of a sudden that they never finish a chapter. That's where we have to worry about this kind of stuff.
I think the big fear essentially there is that if they're owned and operated by a company that cares more about the profit value than just the games.
So every company at this point.
Which is all of them. But there's levels that they're going to say, like you said, if the prices aren't soaring and we're not making tons of money, maybe we just drop all of it.
Or they try to cut corners in places we don't like. I mean,
or sell it off to a bunch of different companies.
Some would argue Magic's already seeing that with the card quality. I know a lot of people have been complaining about that recently. And I mean, the video game world has been complaining about we're seeing more nefarious microtransaction styles being seen throughout the system. So we could see that maybe in more Asmodee games, which would be definitely worried.
Yeah, exactly. Cutting corners, just trying to get profits wherever they can. But
milk the most out of you.
We'll find out. We'll see what happens, and we'll see who they get sold to next.
Let's now look at what games you can add to your collection. We've got Betrayal Legacy, the legacy version of Betrayal House on the Hill, the next addition to the long list of legacy games. We've also got Heroes of Terranoth, the new card game for Fantasy Flight. And we've got Star Wars Destiny Across the Galaxy. This is the next line of the Star Wars Destiny sort of pack style and seems to focus mostly on the solo movie.
Yellow Games is coming out with 8-Bit Box, a collection of multiple smaller games all based around a video game theme. Z-Man Games has Condottiere, a brand new version of that popular card game. Then there's some new additions to old ones like Cult Express Bandits, which shakes up your game a little bit. And for Star Trek Adventures, the RPG, there's the Operations Division for more Star Trek-themed adventures. Betrayal Legacy, that's one that hopefully we'll, if we have time, get a chance to play before the year is out. And I know hotly anticipated for a lot of people, as is Heroes of Terranoth. I think.
That's definitely one I think a lot of people, I think when it was first announced, some people thought it would replace the Warhammer card game they have, which of course was released just a little bit before the split off between
Games Workshop and them,
So, and apparently that was really good, so they're hoping this will sort of, I think, fit the same mold.
Yeah, I'm interested to check it out for sure. So an 8-bit box, if you haven't seen it, check out our impressions from Gen Con. We were pretty positive. I definitely think there's potential for cool stuff in that system. Let us know, which games are you buying? And what are your thoughts on any of these stories that we've got? Did you get a weird Keyforge deck with a name you're not sure about? Are you going to be the next bidder for Asmodee? Or were you robbed at Essen? Let us know in the comments below, because we'd love to hear about it and talk about it on a future episode.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Roll for Crit News.
Make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get more board game content from Roll for Crit.
Do it. Do it now.